Well, hey folks, this is Darren with My RV Works. Today we're in Joyce, Washington. We got a contact from a customer. They have a truck camper here and there's an LP leak. Now they've taken the unit to be serviced at a couple other different shops, and we've seen the receipts that the customer showed us, and looks like they've replaced the pigtail hose and the regulator. The customer states there's still a leak, and we know this because when you turn the propane on, within a few minutes the LP alarm on the inside goes off. And so now I just finished up a video. I'll make a link to it above because I had my son with me, and I was talking to him a little bit about the principles of propane. Why are we carrying propane in RVs? What's the point of propane? Why isn't it something else? Natural gas, butane, some of these other ones. And so I went on, it turns out to be a 20-minute video or so on the benefits and features of propane, and that's why we carry it in our RV. So if you're interested in that, I'm basically picking up on this video right where I left off on that one. But that one kind of went long, so we made it its own video, and so now this video is about tracking down the leak. And so let's begin the trail. If you've seen any of my other videos, I like to follow the trail. So this is going to be a story of following the trail of propane. There's a couple tools that I'm going to use to help detect propane. If this was an electrical problem, then we would be using an electrical meter. Okay, if we were going to try to see the electricity in a wire. But as a propane, we need we could use a slack tube. This is going to be a digital manometer. I've also got the gauge type manometer, and I actually have a slack tube that has the different tubes in it. I'll make a link to another video where I talk about the 3 tests you do for propane, and in that one I'm demonstrating the use of a slack tube. This device here I calibrate to the slack tube about once every quarter or so, and it's always been right, so it's just much easier to use this one. What I found with my slack tube, it takes distilled water and a green dye, and when we're working in the wintertime, because we'll get calls for furnace issues in the wintertime, those things freeze up. So I had to come up with something, and I have my little kind with a gauge that are pretty popular, but I went ahead and got one that's digital. It just kind of makes it a little bit easier to see the numbers. So we're going to be using that. Another thing we're going to be using is a gas sniffer, and it takes about a minute. When you turn this on, it'll take a minute for it to equalize and sniff the air, and it'll start beeping. And what this does is if he detects a leak on that LP, then it's going to start beeping faster. So we're going to be using these tools, and we've also got a liquid over here that we can squirt if we find. You could use the like soapy water to look for leaks. Recommendation there is just something that you would use to wash dishes with that makes a lot of soaps. The best we've found for that would be kids blowing bubbles, where you blow the bubbles. Those make really big bubbles, and it's really kind of fun and exciting. There's also some leak detector solution. I can show you that here in just a second. It's out of my reach. But so these are some tools that we're going to carry with us on our journey as we try to follow the trail and determine where the leak is inside of this RV. So I'm going to bring you a little bit closer. We're going to basically, I've already started it. I don't know where the leak is, but I've already started it, and I saw that there was a leak, and that's when the first video I was talking to my son about propane. He was asking why propane, and that turned out in that other video, and so we decided to make a video out of this. So I'm going to bring you a little bit closer. We'll show you some of these numbers, and we'll discover together where this leak is. Okay, so this is an LP Tap Jig that I create. If you're interested in these, I will make a link down below and on how you can get a hold of me, and I can make one for you. The ones I'm making now, I've decided not to use this flexible piece, and it's just a solid piece of brass. But the whole thing about this is it reaches inside, and you see here I'm tapped into the LP in feed of the refrigerator. You could tap into the stove, you could tap into the furnace, you could tap on the water heater. What I found in all my years of doing this is it's really easy to tap into the LP right at the refrigerator because they have a nice big opening to get into there, and you can just tap right in. Now, if we were going to be diagnosing the refrigerator, then I might tap into a different source, even up to and including, if you look down in there, right there, that little Allen key, you could tap into that right in there and troubleshoot your refrigerator. But the customer's not making any statements that there's anything wrong with the refrigerator. So we're going to tap into the LP right here, and we're going to basically get this as our point to start doing some pressure readings, okay? So when I set this jig up, I tap into the feed of the refrigerator, and here is my tube coming from my manometer, and then this is a, in my other video I said that's a size X. That's not a size X. I think that's a 43. I will look up what that is and make a link. Anyway, in the description of this video, just take a moment if you're interested in this, and I'll put links down there where more detailed stuff. But I use this gas valve, so now I'm tied into the LP here. I've opened my valve. We know that it's open because it's in line with the device, and that is when I would zero out my meter here, okay? Once I know that I'm zeroed out, I'm going to close this gas valve, okay? So now I'm tapped into the pressure, okay? Now, where's the pressure, Darren? Well, we have the LP turned off. So let's go back over here. Here's where they have their cylinder, and I'm going to reach up on top of the service valve here, and I'm going to turn that on, okay? And then we'll go back, and we'll read what our pressure is. So now here we see that our pressure is 12.12 inches of water column. You'll see down there it's saying inches of water, H2O. So the pressure is 12 inches of water column. Okay, now there's a test called the 50% load test. Let me talk about the 50% load test just for a second in case you're coming along with here. I can tell you, I'm going to stick you back into that. Let me back you up, and let me talk about what this 50% load test is all about. 50% load test. Let me back you up a little more because there may be some confusion on what this 50% load test is. Okay. 50% load test. We did talk about that a little bit on that other video that I made a link to previously on the 3 tests to check your propane. The proper way to determine that is to run around your RV and to calculate the input BTUs of all of your appliances. How many BTUs is the input for the furnace, the refrigerator, the water heater, your stove, your oven, those types of things. And you calculate all that, and then from that number, that is to say that if all of those appliances are on, this is how many BTUs your unit is going to be consuming if they were all on, and then you take that number and you divide it in half, and that's where you get your 50%. Now, that's a lot of work. It really is. And not only is it a lot of work, that number is only valid for the temperature. I'm putting my watch because it's got the thing in it. The climate conditions, that temperature for that day, for that point in time right there. So if we were in a laboratory environment, then that would be what we would do. Here in the field, it's very impractical to run around gathering all this BTU information and saying this is half of it, therefore I'm going to do a 50% load test. The whole purpose of the 50% load test is if I had several of my appliances on but did not include the furnace, but if I had several of my appliances on and I needed to start the furnace, do I have enough LP pressure in my system to allow that furnace to run? That's the purpose of the 50% load test. We need a 50%, so that is to say I need half of my LP appliances on, not counting the furnace, and then what is my pressure then? Okay, so that's where this screw, or this drill, I'm believing, look at the contents, the description down below, I think it's a number 43. I can easily look that up, but I'm going to keep rolling here. So I drilled a hole in this. This hole in the test jig is a close representation of what a 50% load would be in your typical RV with your typical climate, with typical conditions. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to crack this valve open, and the LP is going to come out of my small opening here, and I'm going to look at what my number is going to be. Okay, if you were to look at your water heater, I'm trying to figure out where we can see that. The sticker on your water heater, your furnace, your stove, your refrigerator, they're going to have minimum and maximum manifold pressures. Okay, my brain 9. Okay, 10, 9.5, 10, somewhere in there. If I turn this on and this number is in close to 9, 9.5, 10, something like there, then from 12, I'm at 12 right now, and if I do a 50% load and I come down to 9 is my number that I work with. I've been working with that number for a long time. Haven't had anybody coming back making any complaints, so 9 seems to be the working number. Then I know that my 50% load, if half of my appliances were on, simulated, wink, 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 with I'm going to say it's a number 43, but I just don't know. It might be a 41. I need to get that information, don't I? You're going to hold me to that. I'll figure that out. I'll cut and go figure that out and come back with the answer. But do I have enough? So having said that, now let me bring you in a little bit closer. But I did want to talk about that 50% load because there may be some confusion over what that means. What is 50% load and why do we have it and how do you calculate it? In a laboratory, oh yeah, we can get very specific on that. But all it takes is for me to wake up in the morning and it's cold and then all of everything's changed. Or my tank was only half full. Well, all that changes. Or just so many different variables come into things. It has to do with the gas law. So here we are. I want to make sure that when I'm holding this, I'm not pinching any of my wires. So can you guys see that number here? Okay, there. I think you can see that. There's no glare. Okay, so I'm at 12. I'm gonna open this up, representing 50% load. Okay, 8.2. That is less than 9. Okay, 8.3 is less than 9. And then when I close it, I'm going to go up to about 12. All right, what does that mean? So let me back you back up. It sounds like we're going to have another problem here that we need to diagnose. So the fact that I'm at 12 inches of water column on the lockout test, okay, that's a maximum amount that regulator is going to allow through. Okay, if you get to 15 inches of water column and on this thing and you can't adjust it, that is an automatic fail. Automatically replace your regulator. It should never, ever, ever, out of the factory, should never go over 15 inches of water column. If you're getting anything over 14.8 or even close to 15, that's an automatic fail for the regulator. Put on a new regulator, okay? Because out of the factory, they shouldn't go over 15. That's an automatic fail. So here I'm at 12, so I'm below 15, we're good. So far, I'm not suspicious that the regulator's got a problem. But when I did my 50% load, I went down to 8. Why? It's possible that there is oil in the line of the LP system. So it goes back to I have pressure, but I don't have flow. Okay. Now the customer is not stating that there's an issue with flow, and what would that look like? That would look like my stove doesn't work, my furnace doesn't ignite, I smell the LP, but my furnace isn't igniting because it's being starved for the flow. Okay, think of cholesterol in your body. You want your blood to flow through your body, and then there's a restriction in your veins and arteries, and the flow can't go. Same thing. Heart's pumping really good. We've got the pressure. Right now it's at 12, but when we open that up, I mean, this is not that big of an RV. There shouldn't be much of a drop. Then you start asking your question, well, because it is such a small RV, maybe this hole is too big, and maybe it is 8. So we are going to be, probably on this instance, we'll do a thing called back flushing the water heater. I'll tell you what, for you guys, I'll do that. It may not be today, but I might do a back flush of the lines. Okay, so what we would do is we would take a compressor, connect it right here, and blow all that crap out that way. I'm supposed to be telling you about how to fix a leak, and I'm going off on all these wild trails on LP. But let me just stay on this. If you've been with me this long, you know that I like to go off on tangents. Where does the oil come from? That is a big, big, big topic that I've seen discussed. There's really only one place that the oil comes from in these LP lines, and that is from the pigtail that's connected to your cylinder to your system. The oil leaches out of that rubber, and if you've got a lot of oil in your system, I want you to go find your, I'm reaching for something, I want you to go find that pigtail, and it's probably going to be very brittle and cracky. I've heard people say that the oil is coming from the refinery. Hey, if I'm a refiner of LP and I got oil in my system, they're going to shut me down. Wrong answer. It's not coming from there. They're going to say that it's overfilling at the place where they get it filled. That's not possible, because you loosen that little screw and the hiss comes out, and even if they did overfill it, then where's the oil come from? Because there's no oil in propane. Propane is what? Hydrogen and carbon, and the byproducts are water vapor and carbon dioxide, so there's no petroleum products. LP is a very clean, environmentally friendly, zero polluting gas. Okay, so there's no oil in it. There's no oil that's going to hurt our atmosphere. So it's not coming from the propane itself. Where the oil is coming from is the hose, the pigtail hose. Not all hoses are made the same. They're all UL approved and everything, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to leach the oil out of it over time. The longer your hose, the cheaper your hose. If it can bend and tie a knot in it, those are the cheaper hoses. You want to find a hose that's got that inner, what do they call it? Like an inner, for lack of a better term, they'll take a straw inside the rubber hose to help protect the propane from leaching the oil out of your rubber tubing. Okay, so that's where your oil is coming from, folks, is your pigtails. Not all not all pigtails are the same. The better quality ones, I'm not going to get on here and start rattling off manufacturers' names, but there's a manufacturer that does it right. They're the ones that I use, and then there's a manufacturer that's taking shortcuts and corners, and you see that in the cost of the hose. If you can take that hose and you can bend it really easy, it does not have that inner membrane. That's the word I was looking for. It does not have that inner membrane, and I've actually been to a shop one time, and the guy had the correct right hose, and he's like, see how hard this is to bend? And he was saying that that was a fault. That is not a fault. That is the hose that you want, because it's got that membrane in there to keep the LP from bleaching the oil out of the hose into your propane system. Good on that. We're talking about a leak though, but I'm trying to give you a lot of information about propane, because if you're watching this, it's probably because you have a leak, and I want to give you good information on this. And like I said, I linked earlier to a one on why propane, and then we have other videos that I'll link to. In fact, right now I'll link you to my playlist where we have a lot of other propane videos. And I'm going to be doing a lot more propane videos. We're going to be cutting things open, showing you what's on the inside of some of these regulators and things like that, all to help you understand this elusive, powerful energy source that we carry with us. Leak, right? Good. Back on track. So right now, because I started at 12 and I dropped down to 8, my brain thinks there's a restriction in the line. I've got pressure, but I don't have flow. Okay? I don't have flow. Now, maybe it's because it's a small system and my hole's too big. We're going to evaluate that in a minute. But here's how you detect a leak. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the back. I'll just leave you right here, and I'm going to turn off my service valve to take the pressure away. Okay? And then we're going to bleed this out very carefully to maybe around, I like to go with maybe 8 or 7. We'll try to see if we can hit that sweet spot, and then we'll watch it for 3 minutes. Okay? So I'm going to go turn the service valve off and see what happens. Okay, my service valve is off. Now I'm going to watch my numbers right here. I don't know if there's a glare or not, but I'm going to watch my numbers. I'm going to try to get them around 8. And this thing's going to buck on you, which I mean it's going to release, and poof, it's all gone. So you really need to kind of bleed it out very slowly. When you see it go, there you go. Okay, right when it started to buck is when I stopped it. So I was able to stop it. Let's see what our number is. I was able to stop it right at, trying to get the glare out, 7 inches of water column. Okay, now why did we bleed the pressure out, Darren? The reason we bled the pressure out is because we don't know, when I turn that service valve off on that cylinder, is gas still flowing through it? Did it make a good tight seal? Are the O-rings in my gas valve, or the brass touching itself inside of my service valve? Have they faulted? Are they pitted? So we want to make sure that we bring the top pressure down to the middle-y area. That's a word, middle-y. So that if the pressure goes up, I have a problem at my service valve. If the pressure goes down, I have a leak in my system. So you see how we're coming into the middle of that point? Okay. So right now I'm at, it's equalized. Okay. I'm reading, I'm going to just say 8. It's 7.9. So I don't have a piece of paper. I'm just going to write on my hand here, 7.9. And right now it is 451. So at 454, I want to see what it is. Now, when I did this a few minutes ago, or it was earlier this morning, within 3 minutes we had dropped quite a bit. So I am going to pause. I'm going to go look up the size of this hole right here. And when I come back, it's at 7.95. Let's see what it's doing when we get back. Okay, I'm back. It is time. It is a number 41 hole size, because remember I was trying to guess and I didn't know 41, 43. So when you drill a hole in this plug, it's a number 41. In the other video I did where I talk about the 3 tests, I said size X, and I work with this product called 8020, which is like this aluminum extrusion, like the erector set of big boys. And I was working on that around the same time I made that other video, and that's a size X drill bit when you tap in it to put your screws in. So that's where that size X thing came from, but that's a wrong video, and I tried to go back and rename it and put notes in it. So it's a size 41 drill bit is what we use in the RV trades to simulate 50% load. Number 41. Okay, so here it's been time, and right now I'm at 7.4. Okay, and let me bring you in there and show you that. So now you see 7.4. Okay, so we started at 7.9. Now we're at 7.4. Where did it go? Why? If I close my service valve and this thing equalized, and it should be at 7.9. So there is a leak. That is how I'm detecting the leak. is that this keeps bleeding down. Now, earlier, the propane alarm was going off and squawking, and so that was another. So even the RV knows that there's a leak, okay, because that LP alarm's going off. Now, let me mention something on the LP alarms. Boy, I'm just throwing so much at you guys. The LP alarm is good for 5 years. Not only the LP alarm, but the LP alarm, your CO2 alarm, and your smoke alarm. Those have a serviceable life of 5 years. Now, the word I want to stress there is a serviceable life. If you take your RV and you use it for 6 months and then you store it for 6 months, and your serviceable life is 10 calendar years because you're only using it to service 6 months each year. Okay, so you could get 10 years out of one of these LP alarms or CO2 alarms. They only count it when power is applied to the LP alarm. Got it? Great. This one has a date stamp I've already checked of 2006. Today is 2021, so we're over 5 years on that. We're over 10 years. In fact, 21 minus 6 is, you do the math, I'm not even thinking about it right now. But so right now, by default, by definition, that LP alarm is past its useful life. The problem with those devices is that they get more sensitive as they get older, so you start to get a lot of more false triggers on those devices. And as we age, our ability to smell goes with our eyes and our hearing and hair growing all off all of us. So we're not as sexy, as cool as we used to be, but we also can't smell as much. And so the ethyl mercaptan that we talked about in that other video that I referenced above, we can't smell it as well as we can, but the LP alarm can. But as that LP alarm gets older, it gets more sensitive, and so we've even detected the people will put those little spray things that go off like every 30 minutes or whatever. The butane in that will settle down, and we see that happening late at night. People will say it's 2 o'clock in the morning and the thing went off because every 30 minutes, or maybe somebody sprayed their shoes with something. We've even had a documented issue where a guy was spraying hairspray in his hair, and that was setting off the LP alarm. Come to find out, the LP alarm is very old, it's very sensitive. And so we need to replace these LP alarms every 5 years, every 5 years of serviceable life, counted with them being connected. Now, the LP alarm is always powered to 12 volts, so if you turn your 12 volts off, then you don't count that against a serviceable time. But 10 years would be the max on those because the element goes bad. Having said that, if the thing starts to beep and there is no LP alarm, then it's telling you it may not happen exactly at that 5-year mark, but it's basically saying, I'm old, I'm done, I'm tired. You got a one-shot 30-day snooze button on those devices. You hit that button one time, and for 30 days, it won't keep bugging you. But after that 30 days, it's going to keep bugging you. It's going to keep bugging you. It's going to keep bugging you. And then I come in to look at some things, and I notice that your LP alarm is old. You could just look at these things and notice that, oh, wow, the wires have been cut. Why? Because it got so sensitive and, oh, that thing's just going off all the time. Because it's old. It's trying to help you. It's trying to save your life. It's trying to provide service to you. So every 5 years, they're in the neighborhood of $80. What is your life worth? Let's go ahead and throw a new LP alarm in there. Please, 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 please. Just throw it in there every 5 years and you're good to go. While you're at it, do a CO2 or a CO alarm and do a smoke alarm. And they have the LP CO alarms at the same time, whereas propane is a heavier than your gas. It's going to settle down. Carbon monoxide it's just going to fill within the air. You can't smell it. And so you could put the CO alarm anywhere. So they have the ones that are integrated with the LP alarm. You're going to replace them both every 5 years anyway, so you might as well just go ahead and get a combo unit and make it simple. We're here to fix a leak, folks. I'm throwing all this stuff at you. So during my discussion here, we're now down to 7.1. So now let's get busy trying to find the leak. Now here's what I'm going to do to find the leak. I'm going to start by turning this on. Remember, I had mentioned it's going to take a minute for this thing to boot itself up. It's already on now, but it's going to take a minute for it to kind of get happy. And so what I'm going to do is I'll go turn the service valve back on. And I want to pressurize the system as much as we can. And then I take that guy sniffing around, and I'm just going to start poking around in different places throughout the RV to try to find where this thing goes crazy. So I'll set you up where you can watch the service valve. And there you go. So we're at 7.6. So I'm going to go turn on the service valve. I said service valve. You're going to watch the gauge here. I'm going to turn on the service valve. You'll see it go up to about 12-ish. There, 12.9. Okay. And what's the best way to do this? I could kind of go hand holding. Yeah. I'm going to Perfect timing. So now we have beeping. And beeping. Okay, slow beep, right? And if you look here, there's a glare, but I'm just going to tell you the one that says ready is green, but all the others are not green. Okay. Baby's flying over, so let's let them go by. Bring you around with me, and I'm going to take that tip. The first thing I'm going to test is my tool. Is my tool leaking? So I'm going to just sniff around my tool. My tool's not leaking. I'm going to sniff where my connection is. My connection is good. While I'm in this compartment, I'm just sniffing around different places. Okay. The next place I'm going to go is the tank. Is the tank leaking? No leaking tank. Now we're going to go inside. You'll see right down there on the bottom floor, that's where the propane alarm was, and you'll see that I cut the wire here. So now, turn on the light so I can see a little bit better. Why don't I have a light? No light. So now I'm going to sniff maybe around the furnace. This is going to be hard for me to be looking at what you're looking at and looking at what I'm looking at. So I'm sniffing in here. That's where the LP valve is. Okay, I'm going to go over here and sniff by the stove. I'm just going to go inside. See, I'm actually not watching the camera. Okay, we're still... So here you can see where the green light is just saying ready. Okay. Now, back behind here, I believe, is a water heater. Yes, it is. Okay. So we've got a water heater fitting over in here. I think you guys see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save you the agony of watching me do this, and it's going to make me go faster. I am going to turn this off, and when I find the leak, I'll come back and get you guys. But you see what I'm doing. I'm using my sniffer here to basically sniff out where the leak is. We suspect a leak because our pressure is dropping down and because this guy's going off. Now, he's going off maybe because he's old. He could be going off because he's old. But remember, we started at 7.9, and within 3 minutes, we went down to 7.5 or something like that. And that, to me, means there's a leak. So bear with me. I'm going to go off camera and try to sniff around some stuff. This RV is not that big. I mean, it's a kind that zips up and zips down, and the thing gets really small. And so there shouldn't be too many problems. And I will follow the LP trail and let you know what I find and save you guys the agony of watching me do this. I have crawled over literally every inch of the LP lines in this truck camper. I say that because I cannot find a leak at all. Not at all. I've repeated my test 4 times, and I'm getting a consistent number this time. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on there. I've even got this, the liquid leak detector, and I've scored down below here. There's LP fittings. Every LP fitting, I've squirted this product on it. I've sniffed for it. I'm not, the sniffer's not picking up anything. The leak detector's not picking up anything. So what's going on here? This most recent test, I am convinced that when I turn off my service valve, I am completely shutting off the gas. That is to say, I'm not seeing the LP, the inches of water column rising. Okay, they're abating. They're actually going down. So this most recent time, since I know that when I close my service valve, I'm shutting off my pressure. This most recent time, I've turned it all the way on, let it pressurize, then I turned it off. Now, the proper way to do a test is to bleed it out a little bit like I did before, kind of get in the middle, so that you can see if there's a leak from the service valve or a leak in your system. So I'm at 11.8 inches right now. Now, earlier in the day, I've been doing several things on different projects on this one. We're here to work on this one a lot. You might see more videos of us working on this one. But so I've been working on some other things. So it's earlier. I think we were closer to 12 something. The sun was higher, maybe over here. Now the sun's over there. I've been working on a lot of other little projects here, and so now same system, same service valve, cracked right open. Whereas before we were at 12 inches, now we're at 11.8. Okay, the climate condition has changed. It's maybe gotten a little bit colder. Okay. So that is why the whole 50% thing, that changes depending on the temperature, humidity. All these different things have to play into the gas law, is what I'm trying to say. So, because this is a very small system, okay, it's not like in a big fifth wheel, not in a big travel trailer, not in a Class A. It's a very small truck camper, okay? These are my... this is what I'm going to say to you if you have a very small truck camper. This number 41 drill bit size. When I opened it up and I bled it out and went down to 8, I think on this system, since it is such a small, compact system, like in a pop-up camper or something like that, that this whole size is too large. Got it? Okay. I'm going to remind me to tell you about the blue regulators and the green regulators. Okay. So I don't think that there's any restriction in these lines. I do not. I believe the reason why it went down to 8 is because the hole for this 50% load is smaller. The BTU burners on the stove are smaller. It's only a small water heater, small refrigerator, so the BTU demands are much, much smaller. Okay, this number 41 size is for something that's got the 3-burner stove, where one burner puts out a lot more, the other 2 are smaller, more BTUs on your furnace. This is a small little furnace, so it makes perfect sense to me now that I'm thinking about it that the 50% load for this small RV, of course, this number 41 would be too large, and that's why we got the 8. Got it? Now, the blue regulator. All regulators has to do with how many BTUs they allow through them. Off the top of my head, I don't know the numbers, but I'm going to be doing a whole other video just on LP regulators. So bear with me on that, and when I get to that, maybe I'll come back to this video and make a link on it. I haven't done it yet, but I'm planning it, okay? But when you have a small pop-up camper or a truck camper or a real small camper, you're going to want to go with the... they're blue. The regulators are colored blue. They're for low volume type applications. The ones like this one here that are they're not painted at all, they're just the standard color, those are your standard regulators. And then the third type, they have a green color to them, those are your high flow regulators. You would see a high flow regulator on like one of these big RVs. Anytime you ever see an on-demand water heater and a furnace and things like that, you would see a high flow regulator. In fact, when we go into an RV that has a standard tank water heater and we take that out and upgrade them to an on-demand water heater, we're always going to upgrade the regulator from a standard flow regulator to the green colored high flow regulator to make sure that that water heater, that on-demand water heater, is not starving for fuel. If you do that, then you want to make sure that not only do you upgrade your regulator to high flow, but you also your pigtails to high flow. Those are going to have the red ends on them instead of the green. Green is high flow, red is high flow, green is standard RV flow, and the black ones would be what you would use on your barbecue grill. And you can look inside the tips to see the different size holes. Back to the leak problem, okay? So I think that makes sense to me why we were getting 8 inches of water column. Okay, now what I'm going to be doing to this unit is I'll be putting on the blue low flow regulator, and we're going to be repeating this test, and maybe I'll make another video on that because we've got quite a few things to do on this RV here. But look, we're still at 11.8, and it's been on there for at least a half an hour, if not longer. I just decided to leave it on there. Service valve's closed, so if I was leaking, then that number would certainly be going down. Now I see it going 11.79, but I also see the sun going down, and I actually can feel the temperature changing. It's actually getting cooler here. And so as that cooler is getting, the tank's getting colder, it's condensing a little bit more, it's not vaporizing as much. So at this point, I am absolutely 100% convinced that there is no leaks in this LP system in this RV. Okay, so then you're going to ask the question, but Darren, you were at 7.9 and went down to 7.5. What's going on with that? Because the system is so small, this is my hypothesis. Because the system is such a small, compact system, when I was bucking it a little bit earlier and I brought it down to 7.9, it took a few, it's kind of like an analogy. You would think it's a closed system and whatever's in one spot would go, but it's kind of like a wave. And
I'm trying to think of, like, have you ever been to a water park where they have the wave park and the waves are backing forth and everything? That's how I visualize the pressure in here. It's moving back. It may not be that way, but in my mind, I visualize the pressure moving around and expanding and contracting with the sun going over clouds and things like that. It's always expanding and contracting. So what I could have, should have, would have done, and I'm going to tell you how I'm going to fix this problem, is when I bucked it, okay, I should have let it equalize for a few minutes, and then after maybe 5 minutes or so, at that point, got my reading, and then started my 3-minute test, instead of doing it shortly after I bucked it. Let it equalize itself, okay? So there's, now, okay, so then there's a whole issue with the Darren, the propane alarm was going off, okay? Well, I had earlier talked about how the propanes, as they, the alarms, as they get older, they get more sensitive. And I really, really believe in my heart that that's what's going on here. That the previous shops, remember she showed me the receipts, and they've already replaced the regulator, they've already replaced the pigtail. Those previous shops could not find any leak, nor can I. So bravo for those other shops. What I am suspicious of, and what I will be proving here very shortly, is that the LP alarm is old, and it's giving us those false triggers. And so our customer here is picking up on the alarm, LP alarm going off all the time, thinking that there's an LP leak. And certainly when I got here and we turned the service valve on and the LP alarms going off, we felt that there was a leak as well. Even when I turned the service valve off, you would think, and I opened up all the doors and everything, you would think, this was off camera before we even started the roll camera here, the LP alarm kept going off, and I thought that was weird, but I said, well, let's make a video of it anyway. And that's when I just cut the wire because it was a nuisance. So we're at the end of the trail here. The other two shops could not find a leak, nor can I. But what I'm calling it out as is the LP alarm is old. It's from 2006. Today is 2021. I don't know what year it is when you watch this. And as they get older, they get more sensitive. And I am of the absolute opinion that the problem here is there's not a problem with the LP alarm, the LP system. The problem's with the LP alarm. So here's what we're going to do. I've repeated the test several times. We're at 11.78, 11.79. I went back and watched a couple of my reels just to make sure the audio was good, and I was missing a decimal. I think I said 11.9, but it was 11.09 and whatever. So just bear with me on that. I just see numbers and rattle off. I don't take the time to process the numbers in my head when I say it, but you're seeing it. I know you're going to call me out like, Darren, that's not right. But love you guys. So anyway, it's been a long time, and it's not bleeding out. The pressure's not bleeding out. Okay, and the only thing I did different is I didn't buck it this time. I did not buck it this time. But on 4 tests like this, the last 2 tests were with me at full pressure because I'm convinced the service valve's not leaking. There is no leak on this system. I would let my children and my family stay in this RV all closed up in the wintertime. I am absolutely positively convinced that there is no leak. Even with our little leak detector, our little sniffer can't detect it. The LP leak drop test is not detecting it. I am of the opinion that it's the LP alarm that I got old that was giving us all those nuisance trips all the time. The customer saying there's a leak, there's a leak, there's a leak. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a brand new LP alarm. We're going to put it in there, okay? Put all the things back together. And remember, well, you didn't see it because I was doing this before I even brought you guys along. That LP alarm was going off constantly, okay? So if the LP alarm is old, we put a brand new alarm in, let's recreate this test. And if the LP alarm starts going off like crazy, there's got to be a leak somewhere, even though I just said that there's not. And the other 2 shops said that there's not. So that's what I'm going to go with. That's my answer. I'm going to stand by it, okay? The other thing we're going to do with this customer is we're going to put a low flow regulator on here, which is going to be blue in color. We'll put a low flow regulator on this unit, and which is perfect for this, okay? And so we talked about a lot of stuff. Gosh, I rambled off on all this kind of things. LP is fascinating to me because it's like a chemistry set, and it's just fascinating. It's like a little compact battery of heat that you carry around with you as a liquid, but you consume it as a vapor. So I'm fascinated by it. So if I bored you, if I've lost your interest, I'm sorry. I've got other videos you can watch, but if you've stayed with me this long, I really appreciate you. Thank you. I know we've got comments coming in from all over the world, and that is just an amazing thing for me to be an RV tech here and to just put these out to share with you. I'm really trying to add value to you and to be picked up literally all over the world. We've had comments from the Middle East, all over Australia, yay, New Zealand, and Australia and the UK, and even up in Scandinavia and Ireland, all those different places. Just Canada, United States, all the different states. It's so neat. So thank you. It's just kind of like, wow, that's really happening. This is cool. So thanks for that. Thanks for watching my videos. I hope I'm adding value to you. That's why I spend so much time kind of sprinkling them in with all this kind of anecdotes. A lot of my videos have little anecdotes in them like that. And I will keep making these. You guys are telling me that it's helping you, so I'm going to keep doing this. And we've got a long list of other ones we're making, and I've just got to wait for that problem to reveal itself and me to have the time in my schedule to actually make a video of it. And but I'm gonna keep paying into you guys and helping you. If you want to support us, we have a Patreon channel. You can check us out. There's a link below on that. Otherwise, if you just want to watch and enjoy the show, we love you having you around. There's no pressure there at all. But if one thing you could do is, if this was value, give us a thumb up. The algorithms in YouTube like that. You can subscribe to our channel. You'll get notified when we make new videos. And share it with your friends if this added value to you. So this is Darren from Joyce, Washington, and I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and until the next video, happy campers say my RV works. Okay, bye.